that you can, by using namespaces, you can attach the same application in more than one place in your URL conf. But you have to deal with, but this effectively loads the same views, the same models, the same templates, and whatever, and you have to handle yourself how to behave in the different namespaces. With this external application, but is maintained by the same core team of Django CMS, there is a nicer way to handle this. This application basically detects the current namespace of the view, loads a model which is related somehow, and let's see later how, to the current namespace, and attach the model to the current view. So what this application does is resolve the namespace, the current namespace the application is in, retrieve the model, which is just a model with a field which is called namespace, and it's just a string. Okay, so if I say this namespace instance is named blog, it loads the blog, the model with namespace blog, and then it stores. This is the dispatch of the class-based view, and it stores in this config attribute. This means that you can do things like this. In get template names, you can pick up, I don't know, this template prefix from the model, or if it doesn't exist, just provide the standard one. So you can have different set of templates in the same application, and it's handled automatically. The same, the same goes for pagination or for whatever you may need to customize in the views. And it's not shown here, but there is also custom managers to handle this at the model level. So you automatically get the models for registered on that specific namespace, and also there is support for the admin. So you can say, okay, in the admin, the default for this field is this one in the namespace blog, or the other one if the namespace is news. And this is an improvement in 3.2 instead, and we are now able to reload the URL conf as you update the HAPUC, thanks to code by Stefan Faulis that should be around here, over there. And it used to be an external application, and it's now into the core. It's just a middleware which hits the database on each request, unfortunately, but it's the only way to achieve this at the moment. And to detect whether we should reload the global URL conf or not. And if there is some changes going on, this code, which is borrowed in part from a Django test itself, basically unload or reload all the URL conf related models and recreate the app patterns, and so in this way you can effectively reload the entire the URL conf when the project, when the instance is running. And the last one, which is highly experimental because, well, I worked in the past few days, is this one, which is nice if you, especially if it's the first time you are experimenting with Django CMS. Sometimes it's a bit boring to install the Django CMS application because you have to add to install apps, you have to configure like any Django application, but then you have to create a page, load the HAPUC, and do some configuration, initial configuration. With this application, you can just basically handles the auto creation of the page and the HAPUC, and eventually the HAPUC config model when the project starts. Actually, when the first request is performed. So it has basically no performance hit, and it's just this attribute in which you provide a few defaults, like the fields all the translated fields for the HAPU config and some defaults name and namespaces, and with this setup model, it's done. Any other question?
Yes. So, question with the model-related stuff. Is there any reason to move to using Treebeard instead of MPTT? What was the motivation for that?
Performance and consistency. MPTT gave us a few problems with consistency, with concurrency editing, and a lot of tree corruption when the users do the weird things users do. And so in a few projects we have, sometimes you have to constantly rebuild the tree manually by running a command, which is not nice. The main problem is that MPTT recalculates the tree whenever a node is changed. Right. And which is, it's a performance hit and a consistency risk. Treebeard provides I don't remember exactly which of the three algorithms we use, but anyway, it basically it requires tree rebuilding just in a few cases. So if you only update a node or a few nodes, just update the addition nodes, so it's much more reliable in this.
Thank you. There's a sort of general collection of questions about when one uses Django CMS. So if we sort of start at the base level, so talking about our website, Django Under the Hood website is a bunch of template views, basically, and some static HTML. And when do you feel that it's important to start using a more complex CMS system? Or when does the benefit outweigh the extra complexity that you add?
Well, the benefit is that really anyone with basic computer literacy can edit the content on a Django CMS website. So it's if you have a bunch of Django core developers organizing a conference, I think they won't have much problem to edit a few templates.
You'd say that. Writing CSS seems to be a problem, but...
But yeah, in most of our other cases, it's very hard for users not only to deal with manually writing HTML, but also with more abstract way of editing the content.
It's more like it's an additional developer overhead to make managing the project a lot easier. Yeah.
Exactly, and makes much more flexible the layout of a page. I mean, for many projects, you end up having a template, I don't know which, maybe an header, a footer in the template, and nothing else. And all of the rest is built on top of plugins. You have plugins to create the grid. You have plugins to, I don't know, to handle responsive images and whatever. So it makes very easy for normal users to completely change the way a page looks. Yep. which is really good. And the other, this is on the simple side, okay? And then there are more complex use cases in which you want to integrate a lot of applications together. You want to provide nice way for people to edit content, but also much more flexibility in how the content in structure in custom application, let's say a news. Okay, in a news you can define a title, a description, and an image, for example, by using standard Django models. But what if you want, the user want to add 2 images, and then you maybe want to add a second image field, and so on. By using the plugins concept, it's much more easier to give the flexibility to the user to decide to have completely same news structure.
So, kind of around this sort of idea, can you talk about the pros and cons of Django CMS against, let's say, Drupal or WordPress? I mean, obviously the biggest problem is that it's not PHP, but also on the side against, for example, Wagtail.
Well, the difference with Drupal and WordPress is that Django CMS is Django, so it scales, and it scales much nicer than Drupal or WordPress. Not only in terms of number of visits per month, but also in terms of project extensibility. I mean, many times you start with just a core of features, and then the website grows and grows and grows. And with things like Drupal or WordPress, at one point you hit a limit, and there is no way to get around that limit. And with Django is much more difficult. So if you use Django as a base and a CMS for Django on top of Django, it's much more easier, obviously, to add features to the website without rewriting everything from scratch. Mm-hmm. And in respect of other CMSs for Django, the benefit is that CMS is just a Django application. You can have Django CMS in a part of your project dealing with 5 pages and that have your own business logic in the rest of the website, ignoring completely the existence of Django CMS. And this is not easy with Wagtail or Mezzanine, which instead really dictates how your project works and are much more opinionated than Django CMS.
Django CMS aims to be a pluggable CMS application for Django, as opposed to other things which aim to be more like a WordPress or Drupal copy. Yeah.
That's the idea.
What's your recommended way, or is there an existing thing that you know of for dealing with approval pipelines?
Sorry?
For dealing with approval pipelines, so edits and then other people approving those things.
Django CMS used to have a very complex workflow to handle this, and it's been removed because no one uses it. And instead, we used a much more simpler workflow. By using Django permission, you can provide permissions on page, on branch of a tree, and then by using the publish permission, you can decide who's going to approve that page. And eventually, if you want to send notifications or more complex ways to handle the approval workflow, it's quite doable in an external application.
Sort of extension points for doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
To fit the business logic of your particular company.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, well, that wraps up the end for today. So thank you very much to Iacopo.